hear me?
I can. How are you doing, Ash?
I'm good, mate. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. It's nice to finally be back on the pod. It's been a while for me.
Yeah, man, respect.
No, we'll just shoot straight into it. Excuse me while I embarrass myself with an introduction.
Nah, go for it. Let me hear it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Giants podcast. It has been a very long time since I last did one, so if you aren't familiar with my name, I'm Cameron Deacon. But a name you should be familiar with is my guest today. It is Huddersfield Giants number 1, Ashton Goulding. Thanks very much for joining me, Ashton.
No dramas at all. Thanks for having me.
How are things going for you at the moment? Are you doing well?
Yeah, doing really well, to be fair. Family life's good. Business life's good. Rugby life good. Feeling quite settled in now and got over my injury for the start of my Giants career and hopefully kick on now and look forward to the rest of the year with the boys.
You mentioned your business there going on. I was going to ask, how is the coffee shop going?
It's really good. Obviously, we've got to adhere to all the regulations, and with the announcement today from our leader Boris, you know, we've kind of got to keep our eyes peeled and see what we've got to change and adapt. But we're a flexible business. We're a new business, come out of the Corona era, so you know we've had to be flexible and adapt to that kind of thing there. So you know, it's just something we'll take in our stride, and hopefully we'll be able to stay open and keep people in a job and keep serving that coffee.
I was going to say, for anyone who doesn't know, the House of Coffee in Leeds has been running for just under 3 months now, is that right?
Yeah, we've been running for 3 months now in Horsforth. If you're about that area, check us out. You won't be disappointed.
What's it been like then, that experience, setting that all up, as with like rugby on the side as well?
It's been difficult, challenging, but it's kept me occupied. You know, I like to think I'm a thinker as well as a doer, and sometimes you've got to be a doer. And I've seen 2020 as the year of just going for it. And you know, with all the things that were going on and all the financial implications of coronavirus, many people would have just said, "Nah, just save your money and look after yourself and your family." But to take a risk, you know, without risk, there's no reward. And I felt it was the right time for me personally and for my family to go for it. And so far, so good. But you know, we're not through the woods yet, as you say.
I couldn't imagine a more sort of stressful time to start up a business. So like you have, so it's quite a step that you've made. Yeah,
no, it is a difficult time, but it's also the perfect time because out of the ashes comes a phoenix. You know, it's that kind of when everyone sees it as dead, buried, and gone. It's actually the perfect time to start something new, fresh and vibrant. And, you know, this part of Leeds in Horsforth, on this side of Horsforth, it was crying out for this kind of coffee shop / just a nice environment to come and sit in and enjoy yourself and make it local. You know, there's a lot of Starbucks, Costas, we know about them, but to keep something nice and local and fresh for the community, it was something that we felt was needed growing up around here. And it was something the community bought into straight away. So, you know, it's a win-win scenario for both of us.
So before we get into talking about rugby, because this is a rugby podcast, I want to talk a little bit about yourself in rugby. So when was your first experience of rugby league?
We're going back when I was young. I think the first experience of rugby league that I remember was playing in the back garden with my granddad. That for me is something I'll always hold on to because he's not with us anymore, and he was a great role model for me in that aspect, and it's always something I wanted to do to impress him. And now he's never seen me play a professional game. He's seen me play for Leeds when I was in the academy, but obviously there's a different weight to the shirt when you're playing in Super League, and that's something that he's never seen me do. So that's my earliest memory and probably my biggest driver and motivator.
And you went and joined Stanningley, is that right? As a youth player or as a younger player? And you're now. Yeah, and you're back there coaching, aren't you? I believe.
Yeah, I'll never leave that club until I can't walk anymore. That club for me is not only a club; it's a family. And for me, it was speaking openly, the area that I'm from, Bramley. It's probably harder not to get involved in the wrong crowd than it is. So for me, that rugby, that escape, that avenue that led me down the path of making the right decision and actually sacrificing something to gain something, and understanding that and taking me in and helping me experience the joys of winning and just overall helping me do the right thing. and then supporting me through loads of things. For instance, you know, when I'd make representative honours and play for Yorkshire, you know, I'd have to get there and I'd have to have, you know, a pair of boots. Now, well, you know, we always managed to get that as a family. It was never easy, and Stanley always supported me. They always pushed me and helped me financially to be able to do that. And then to give me the opportunity to go back and coach their open age team is massive, and it's an honour that I'll never take for granted. I absolutely love the club. I've got nothing but good words to say about Stanley. It's the best amateur club in the world, hands down, fact.
Am I right in thinking there's quite a bit of sort of like professional player interest in Stanley? It's not just yourself.
No, yeah, there's a fair few players that have come through the ranks at Stanley. So you only have to look at current Super League to look at it, or current professional rugby league players. You go through the ranks. In Bradford, you've got Sam Hollis, Jordan Lilly, Brandon Pickersgill, all came from there. You've got myself at Huddersfield. You've got the likes of Jamie Jones Buchanan, Ryan Atkins, Gareth Carvell, Jamie Peacock, just to name a few, Matt Calderwood. There's some really big names that have come through Stanley, and it's no coincidence. It's genuinely and purely because the club does it right. There's no shortcuts. There's no special treatment. You know, everyone's in the same pool, and if you're good enough, you'll make it if you put the hard work in and sacrifice. And that's told to you when you're 12, 16, 18, and it's never changed. It never will. No players will ever be paid at Stanley. You turn up because you love the badge, you love the club, and you love your brothers, and that's ultimately how it works. And it's great. It's honestly a great environment.
So what was it then, the transition for you from going from a place like Stanley to then being called to the Leeds team? It must have been quite a moment for you in your life.
Yeah, for me personally, you know, that's something. When you're a kid, you have your dreams. So my dream as a kid was to play for Leeds. I'm a Leeds-born lad, and you know, for me, my dream came way before I ever thought it would. I think I was 17 when I made my debut in 2014, and that was a scary moment. But the actual transition from Stanley to Leeds scholarship and service and wasn't that big, because the standards we set at Stanley as our team. So we just won the National Cup twice, only ever been done once before. We'd won numerous honours. So we was a successful amateur team. To go from that environment where we held each other accountable and the standards were so high into a scholarship again where the standards are high, it kind of was a natural progression into that system. Yeah. If that makes sense. So the actual transition wasn't the thing. It was probably the pace of the game and the standard of the opposition and actually trying to be the best version of yourself, which I found was probably the most challenging part.
Yeah, and you spent 6 years at Leeds. Like you said, you joined at 17 with 2 loan spells away. What was it like, not only sort of like playing for Leeds, but almost growing up there? Because like you said, you joined when you were 17 years old, and it's, you know, that they're crucial years in your development as a person.
Yeah, you know, I truly believe that me as a person now is directly impacted on my time at Leeds. I think I've been installed with a few traits that I think, if you don't make it as a rugby league player, it'll only make you a good human anyway. You know, timekeeping, honesty, integrity, be accountable. These kind of traits are not only good for rugby league, but they're good for just being a human. So, you know, I've got great memories of being at Leeds, but that's not where my future lies. And that was realised last year. And you know, and that chapter of my story is closed. Now, I don't neglect everything that I've gained from being at Leeds, and the time that I spent there, I absolutely loved it. But, you know, as a chapter closes, another one opens, and I'm relishing it at the moment.
Were you a bit reluctant to leave Leeds with the fact that you were a Leeds-born lad?
No, I feel like you just know when your time's up.
Right.
I feel like you get to a point where you fight, and you do everything right. And I mean, everything, to the point where you're sacrificing weddings, you're sacrificing funerals, you're sacrificing all this stuff that, as a rugby league player, you're expected to do, with zero reward. Now, again, I'm never going to bag Leeds, I'm never going to bag coaches, never going to bag players, because I truly and ultimately believe it happened for a reason, and whether I agreed with the reason or I disagreed with the reason, it's done. Buried, and it is what it is. Now I'm happy to let that be, because I feel like I'm in a much better position, a better place. And for me as a player to grow, I felt that my time at Featherstone was needed. And for me to grow again, I feel like this is the perfect place and the perfect opportunity, the perfect players, the perfect coach for me to do that, yeah.
And I was going to talk about your time at Featherstone, actually, because I've got a great fascination when it comes to championship rugby, because you almost have that rugby league is a very community-based sport, but when you go into the place like Championship League One, it seems so much more tight-knit, and everybody knows everybody in those routes. And so what was your experiences like when you were at Featherstone?
I correct. Everyone knows everything about everyone in rugby league, period. It's a small, small world. But no, it's how I describe the championship compared to Super League is it's tribal. Championship is tribal. You don't step on another man's turf. You don't say ill words about a club because it's so dear and tribal. Because them kind of clubs like the Batleys, the Halifax, the Featherstones, they built rugby league. They built the game. Widnes, it's all tribal. It's all territory. It's hard to say. It means more to certain players and people, but because it's less. How do I word it? I want to word it right so it comes across right. Because it's more English-based local players, that rivalry becomes so much more and so much bigger. My time at Featherstone was unbelievable. Absolutely, I've got nothing but. I couldn't say a bad word about Featherstone even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
Them as a club, as an organisation, from top to bottom, they might not get everything right. But that year, it just seemed to click. The coach, the players, the way that it all just seemed to go. The 5-game run we did at the end, it was all a spot on time. I'll never forget it, to be honest.
I do want to mention that running at the end, because you guys at Featherstone, you felt the full force of expansion in your final 2 games, having to go away to Toulouse, win there, and then fly within a week to Canada and then play in the £1 million game there. What was that like? Because I was thinking it in my head, that whole week must have been manic.
It wasn't even just that, because if it was just flying to Toronto, flying home, flying to Canada, Toulouse and then Toronto, it'd been fine. It was the fact we had to fly to Toulouse, fly back to Glasgow, get a bus back to Leeds, which is another travel in itself, and then fly to Toronto, get a bus back to Bristol. It was Bristol from Toulouse, and then fly back to Toronto to Glasgow. So it was not just the flying, it was the actual bus rides as well, 4 or 5 hours either side. But this is all I'll say about Featherstone. They're a hard-working bunch of men who, if you give them 10 minutes to say, right, look, we've got to play this game, get ready, play. No one had moan. They just get on with it, and that's what we did. We just got on with it. We saw the cards that we had, and we played the cards we were dealt, and it's as simple as that. Really, it was memorable. It'll never be forgotten. But it was a good period, to be fair.
And especially for you, because I seem to, you got man of the match in that £1 million game, didn't you?
Yeah. I managed to, don't know how, I think I picked the right people at the right time. I was on the losing side and I got man at match. I don't know how that works, but
it must have. But in terms of experiences and going there, flying to Toronto and playing in front of that crowd there, it must have been. And obviously the result didn't go Featherstone's way in the end, but the whole experience must have been amazing to have.
Yeah, 100%. Like I say, it'll never be forgotten by me. That's something I will hold on to as something that I believe is a marker in my career. Something that I've used to actually go, actually, no, I'm at this standard. I'm okay. Rather than always, putting myself down, I can use that marker as actually, we did this. We started the year with 8 men training. We managed to recruit, promote within and bring dual reg players on like myself, who wasn't getting game time, was low on confidence, and we built a team while playing games and picking up a few wins here and there. And by the end of it, I think teams feared us. I think that Toronto would have rather have played Toulouse because, we pushed them all the way, and then Blake Wallace's left foot got us, and that was the game. And I think he knows it as well because he told me.
That's quite.
But it was a good experience, really good, and it'll only hold, like the Jack Renders and players like that for Featherstone who are going to be there for the next 5-10 years. The Josh Hardcastles, it'll hold them in great stead because they'll become leaders from stuff like that.
And from what I understand as well, it's a great little community club town as well. So it's having that chance to go to Toronto and even have the chance in the £1 million game must have been something for them as well.
Yeah, 100%. You know, you could. This is what I mean about tribal. You could just feel the energy because it's again a small knit, close community. That was the be all and end all of that town, and everyone knew about it. You know, before we set off, we had fans turning up for bacon sandwiches at 5 in the morning, and just to come and wish us well. And it was special.
Speaking of experiences, you've also got yourself to play for Jamaica as well. You got called up in 2017. What was that like for you? Was that a special moment?
Yeah. So with this one, so when you asked me about how it came about playing for Leeds and was it a dream? You know, that was a dream. Now for me as a kid, playing for Jamaica wasn't a dream. Truly because I didn't realise and didn't fully understand my identity, and that's something I'm always going through, trying to understand and work out who I am and how I feel within myself. And sometimes you don't actually realise a dream until you're there in a moment, and you just go, "This is it. This is the pinnacle. This is where I want to be. This is where this is the top level. I can't go no more than this." And for me, that was the pure pride I had with that. Now, add on to the fact my granddad on my Jamaican side is still alive, and I can see me playing for Jamaica and represent the nation that, you know, he was born in, and do the respect that it deserves. And it was a dream realised in the moment, was playing for Jamaica, and from there I've not looked back.
Do you remember your first game for them?
Yeah, it was France away in 2017. I had to, so I got a phone call off the head coach, Jermaine Coleman, and he asked me, you know, we really, really want you to play, and you know, if you can pass the fitness test and you can get some form back end of the year, we'll highly consider playing you. So, you know, I was like, oh, I've got a holiday booked on that day, so I don't know how it's gonna. You're playing in France. I'm off to Gran Canaria. It's legit. So I just said, you know what? Could I have an hour to think about it? Within that hour, I'd rebooked my holiday. You know, it cost me £2,000 to rebook and get flights from Barcelona. I had to travel to Barcelona to get a flight from Barcelona to Madrid to Gran Canaria to then go. So it cost me a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of things, what's £2,000 to represent the nation? To represent the nation and give you family life, like it's nothing. And for me, the pure pride that I had playing for the nation of Jamaica, and the pure pride that my granddad had when I pulled on the shirt, and my uncles, and it's priceless, to be honest.
Does that sort of experience then, like you mentioned your identity, does it sort of solidify what your identity in yourself is? You're a Jamaican player born in Leeds, and that's how you view yourself now?
Yeah and no. I don't think I'll ever fully, truly be able to put a finger on that's my identity and that's how I confirm, because I think there's so many stipulations and things that are changing around me that I can't control, and how people perceive other people, that's something I can't control. But what I can control is how I feel within myself. So, you know, I'm British. I was born in England. I'm a Yorkshire lad. I'm proud of this country. I'm proud of my country and where I live. Ultimately, I have a responsibility and a respect to honour and respect the country that actually my family came from as well. And that's ultimately my identity. If someone asks me my identity, I'm a Jamaican, I'm English, I'm a British. I'm English, I'm British. I'm from Yorkshire. But I'm well understanding that that's not only me. You know, I am British, but that's not just me. I've got loads of family who are Jamaican. I've got loads of family who are English. You know, my English family came from Ireland, and there's so many different routes and avenues to how I could identify. Now, if you ask me where I was born in the LG, St James's in Leeds, so I'm Leeds born, Leeds bred.
And obviously, it's quite an exciting time to be playing for Jamaica and the team, because with the World Cup next year, God hoping that we have fans back in by then. And you're in, and especially for you and your group, we're playing against New Zealand and Ireland in there, especially two games that have been massive for not only Jamaica but yourself, because especially the Ireland game, in my opinion, in Headingley, both of those games, it's like you're playing in Leeds for Jamaica.
Two wins.
Yeah, and against people who, you know, especially Ireland and Jamaica, there's a lot of your friends, you know, in there.
Yeah.
I can also imagine if fans are back, it's a festival, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. You know, that's a spectacle in itself. You've got the West Indian community, you've got the Irish community, massive communities in Leeds. Can all meet at Headingley and flipping battle it out on a rugby field and have a good time with it and bring the cultures that probably the Rugby League World Cup's not seen before with Jamaica. you know, at Headingley last year when we played the England Knights, we had steel pans, we had faces in the crowd that's never been there, and just positive feedback. 7,000 people turned up to a game that was an exhibition that wasn't scheduled, that, you know, people expected England Knights to win, but people didn't come for the result. They came for the experience and the new experience in the field. And imagine that on a scale times 1,000 in the Rugby League World Cup. It's going to be mental if Boris allows fans to come back.
and I'm saying, like I mentioned, both those games, the New Zealand and Ireland game, are both in Headingley. Does that mean a bit more to you, being sort of your, you know, hometown, home grounds almost?
It's just easier for me because then I get all my family there. I mean, my granddad, my uncles, my aunties, they all live in that area of like Headingley, Burley. So it's a 2-minute walk for them. So yeah, it means it's different. It don't mean more to me, but it's just more convenient for me because I can have all my family there. As selfish as it sounds, it's just more convenient.
And obviously, it is. We've not spoken about your time at the Giants yet, but it is your first season at the club, and it feels like it's been forever almost, doesn't it? And what's your first season been like at the Giants so far?
Difficult. You know, it's a pre-season friendly, and I've ruptured my hamstring, and that's not good. And you know, it took a long time for me to fully register that in my head and how long I'd be out. And you know, as soon as I did it, I came off the field and I said, "No, put me back on. I'm fine. I'll play," because ultimately, I didn't want to disappoint people who'd put faith in me and brought me from an environment where I probably wasn't getting game time and couldn't prove my worth, you know, going to championship. And then I feel like people took a leap of faith with me, and I didn't get to repay that as soon as I wanted to, but I trusted the process. I had some great people around me, family, friends. Actually, the Giants boys as well got around me and helped me to see the bigger picture. And, you know, maybe I missed the start of the year, but I could be that mid-season energy burst that we might need. And then lockdown came, which gave me a bit more time to get right and actually fully understand the situation. And you know, I was at a point in lockdown where I was back. I was running well. I was running half marathons. I had my own little gym in my garden. And then we came to game times and, you know, we started playing, and I'm just fully enjoying myself at the moment.
I was going to say, because I remember I was at the Wakefield game where you got your injury, and I remember thinking, it's like, God, what a loss that is, because I remember you played so well in those friendlies, and you could see that energy that you're bringing into the team.
Yeah.
What's it like as a player? You've just moved to a new club to then get an injury like that. Is it really sort of devastating for you to think, God, I have to stop all this progression that I was about to make almost?
Yeah, but it's not even it's not even the personal aspect of it. It's more, you've trained all pre-season with a new group of people, and you built that trust and that respect that ultimately in rugby league, if you don't have trust and respect, you can't play the game. Because you need to be able to trust your inside to cover your shoulders. You need to be able to trust your fullback to catch the ball. You need to be able to trust your hooker to get the ball on the money. And if you don't have that trust and that honesty and respect, you can't just turn up and do your job, because then it's not an individual sport. So for me, I felt like I'd built up that trust and respect, and then for it all to just be unraveled and with an injury and go back to square one. But it wasn't even just that, it was the lockdown aspect as well. So because of lockdown, you lose communication with some people in your team, and that trust and respect, because you haven't been playing before the lockdown, is probably gone because they can't remember what you will have done. And it was just an accumulation of loads of different factors that contributed to, essentially, when lockdown came and gone, starting fresh, building that trust and respect back up. And I feel like I'm at a point now where the boys trust me and they understand what I can bring. And ultimately, I trust them and completely, wholeheartedly trust them. If they said to me, Ashton, walk on that bridge, I'll catch you. You know, that's what I'm going to do, because they've seen something that I've not seen. And if that's what they want me to do, I trust them. Probably not Jermaine McGilvery, but everyone else I trust.
Was it, and obviously I try and put a positive spin on things, was going into lockdown almost a silver lining for yourself with the injury? Because it came at a time where you were having to recover, or did it make it harder to recover because you weren't getting with the physios? Or
yeah, 6 one after's not over. I think it was a bit of both. You know, it gave me more time to get right, but ultimately, if I was seeing a physio, I'd have probably been right a lot quicker. But for me personally, I'm diligent. I feel like I'm diligent enough to understand when I need to do my rehab, when I need to go for a run, when I need to actually go to the gym. So I quite enjoyed the aspect of running my own programs and actually getting my hamstring to a point where I felt, yeah, I could run on it. It wasn't perfect until I got hands-on treatment from the physios, and then, that worked hand in hand. We had 2 weeks to prepare for the first game. Now, like we said, I'm part of a culture where if you say, look, you've got a game tomorrow, I would be ready. And I know the boys are the same. So, yeah, it was 6-1 after, not I'd say.
And you mentioned there your training. What was it like through lockdown? Because obviously other professional players they were just maintaining fitness almost, where you having to build it back up again. Was it difficult for you to do?
Yeah, I enjoy all that stuff. The fitness, the weights. Times I was training 3 times a day just to make sure I was doing more than most people. So my mindset, if I can wake up a bit earlier than the next person, I'm probably ahead of them in that day. Therefore, I can do more and get more out of that day because I needed to, with me being behind them. So that's my mindset. So I was always up early. I was always doing a morning session, an afternoon session, a night session. And yeah, I tried to maintain that as long as I could, and maybe took a week off during just to grieve the loss of my grandma. And then as soon as, we as a family felt in a comfortable position where I felt my mum was okay and she was getting by again, that's when I went back into my gym routine and programming again. So, yeah.
What was the message like to the team when we found out that we were going into lockdown? What was like the staff's message? How were they trying to sort of motivate you to keep yourself fit in your own time?
Initially, the message was, we've got a couple of weeks lockdown. Just maintain your fitness. Here's a couple of things you can do, and we'll be in touch with more information. And as time went on, obviously the information got a little bit more detailed, and it was like, look, right, we're in lockdown for this amount of time, reviewed in 3 weeks, right, another 3 weeks, another 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was just on and on. So you got into a pattern of, right, I've got my own routine to sort out. They're just going to tell me I'm in lockdown again. And then we got a message saying, look, we're on. 2 weeks' time, be ready, we're on. So you're coming in on Monday, you're off furlough, let's go.
What was that like then, to go back into training? Did you have to sort of reintegrate?
I was absolutely buzzing. Obviously, I had some points to prove, so I was ready. I was ready 3 months before that. Yeah, I was excited, ready to go.
And obviously, lockdown isn't sort of the only odd thing that's happened this year, but in terms of rugby league and the Super League, there's been a lot of changes to it, and I wonder if, like, the to say the least, not playing home games not at home, playing at home when you're away, changing the points to percentages. Does it affect a player's drive when you've got this many different changes going on in the background?
No, because for me, it all comes down to your individual reason why. And then it all comes down to the overall team why. Now, as a team, why do you play the game? You play the game to win the league leaders, the Challenge Cup, and you get a ring at the end of the year. That's why we play as a team. We don't play to come forth and get money for the club. We don't play to do anything else. As a team, our own group as a bubble, we want to win every trophy. And that's our mindset. That's my mindset. That's how we go. Now, as a individual, your individual whys will always change. So from person to person, but my why is my why. I probably keep that personal to myself, but that's my drive, and it's my personal drive is not money. I don't go to work, so I don't go to rugby thinking it's work to earn money. I go to rugby for my own reasons, and it's essentially that. The changes in Super League, points percentage, and Catalan have overlapped 4 people now, and that's a weird one, but they still got to fulfill their fixtures to maintain that percentage, so it makes no difference to me. Again, we just need to control what we can control, win as many games as we can, put ourselves in the best position, essentially.
I was going to ask about the points percentage. From like a player's point of view, does it affect it at all, or is it still the same mentality of a win's a win, whatever we're getting on the board, it's the same thing?
I think it's more important now, the win's a win, just for the pure fact that you don't get, it's the same mentality. You don't go into a game thinking, look, there's no relegation, we can't lose our jobs, we'll go again. Because again, it's not just a job for me. It's the older I'm getting, I've got a son now as well, and I'm trying to understand and feel a bit more with regards to, it's not all about rugby league, but then ultimately I can't help my passion and my drive for rugby league, and rugby league does. I don't want the game to define me and people just to see me as a rugby league player. Because if people got to speak to me, they'd understand I've got more interests and I've got other things. But I'd hope that rugby league was an overriding conversation that we had, because it is a big interest of mine and it is a big love of mine. And for players just to see it as a job and well, we'll go out and if we win, we win, we lose, we lose. I don't think any player in Super League especially has that mentality. You can't have that mentality at this level, because half-hearted efforts just won't work.
And obviously since the return of rugby league, it's been a bit of a mixed bag for the Giants, especially more recently. We've had a bit of a change at the guard almost, and what's it been like sort of coming back into rugby league, reintegrating? How have you felt yourself playing recently?
The first 3-4 weeks when we went on a bit of a run of losses, I didn't feel we were far off. I felt, we were doing the right things. We were being honest with each other. Probably being too honest at times. But, you win or you lose, and we lost them. So, we can't sit back and think, well, we're not far off, we're all right. No, we lost. So we didn't stop working. We went in on days where we probably should have just, done team stuff. We did conditioning. We got fitter. We got closer as a team. We had to understand each other a bit more. Again, that trust and that honesty and respect that I was speaking about. And that there's no surprise why we went on 3-game win streak, because we put the time and effort in when we was losing. Even by a point, we believed we should have won them, but as a team we didn't. So we had to wrong some rights. So yeah, I feel like as a team we're not far off at all. I think there's points in a game where we need to be smarter, recognise where we are at actually in a game, and from there we can push and we can compete with anybody, can beat anybody. It's just having that smartness in a game to understand, look, start of the half, we're 12 up, just 5 sets, we can drown this team out, and we don't. And we don't.
And obviously, like the last 4 games, as you mentioned, you're on the winning streak. And yourself personally been playing very, very well. And it's with Robbo in charge now. Has there been almost a change in the team in the last 4 games, do you think?
Yeah and no. I think obviously it's quite late in the year. We've only six games to go now. 6 games to go before playoffs to make massive changes. And Robbo's been part of the system, while Simon was here. So it's not a massive change, but it's subtle changes that are really effective. So the little things that people probably wouldn't notice or would get overlooked when you're doing certain things, he's really honing in on and keeping people accountable. And that accountability is massive in rugby league, because if you make a mistake, you got to own your mistake, and that's the only way you'll get past it. If you don't own it, you'll do it again and think you can get away with it. It don't work like that. For me personally, he's been great. He puts in the time. He'll sit down with me and he'll show me clips and show me how I need to do better and where I'm actually really good at. And he'll then put time on the field with me. Him and Kim, they'll be working hard with me. So yeah, he's not like he's put a massive stamp on the whole club and ethos, but definitely small changes where it's at, and they're actually making a massive difference and ultimately improving the culture at the club.
And obviously we're doing this almost quite late of a game against Hull FC tomorrow. How are you and the team sort of feeling about that one? Very similar positions in the table as well.
Yeah, no, we understand that, and we're quite prepared for what they've got. They've got some great players all around the field. They've got Mark Sneed who can kick them out of trouble. Jake Connor, who he's honestly like a magician at times. You don't know what he's going to produce, but it's always class. They've got some firepower on the wings, as me and Darnell realised when we played them last time. They've got some middles that have just got that tenacious grit that'll just keep going and going and going. So we know we've got a massive job on our hands, but we also recognise that we've got a back five that'll just keep catting the ball. We've got a middle unit that will work and work and work and can play. We've got halfbacks that can just string us around the field and have got pure class in them. And we've got some strike men on the edges. So, we know what we've got as well. And we know if we just stick to our game plan and do our jobs, as you'd say, we'll ultimately come up with the win. Now, if we stray away and start taking shortcuts, we will get punished because they are a class team. They've got class all over the board. So it's one of them games, really. Who wants it more? Who wants it more wins?
And from a personal point of view, other than doing random podcasts, what is your sort of pre-match routine the day before a big game like the one tomorrow?
Day before, I don't really have anything. Day before, I have the same meal before a game. So I have mascarpone pasta with squid, prawns, mussels, mixed in,
Nice.
or chorizo. Depends how I'm feeling, but it's one or the other: chorizo pasta or seafood pasta. On the day of the game, the build up to the game, I won't play any Xbox. I won't watch any TV. I'll just either wake up a little bit later, listen to some music, really relax. I'll go to my coffee shop, that one, and I'll go get a triple shot flat white for my journey over to Huddersfield. When I get to the game, I've got a few certain things I've got to do for me to feel right in myself. Now, if I don't do them, it's not an excuse that I'd have a bad game. It's natural for me to do it now.
Yeah, of course.
Got a few markers I've got to hit, but other than that, it's not too bad.
And finally, just before we leave you, got some. You're obviously new to the team, but want to see how much you think you've learnt about everybody else. Asking some quick fire questions. So, who would you reckon is the fastest player in the team?
There's two names, Jake and Dan's. I would have to go with. And Dom Young actually. Ooh. I'll go with Jake Wardle.
Who would you say is the strongest player?
We're going pound for pound, or what?
Yeah, pound for pound. Who benches the most?
You're looking at him.
There we go. That's a fair enough answer. Who's the loudest of the group?
Depends how you meet, like in a game or just generally.
Either or, both.
In a game, C's. Generally, it's probably Jez. He just always talking.
Do you know? Is there a group clown in the team?
Jez, man, he talks some absolute rubbish. That guy. Apparently, he created rugby league. Apparently,
Wow, he's much older than I thought he is then. And finally, who has the worst fashion sense?
See, now this is a weird one because a fair few of the boys would say me, but I'm a dad, so I get away with it. It's got to be Matty English, honestly. He wears the same Stan Smiths and these flared jeans at the bottom every time I see him. It's got to be Matty English.
Thank you very much, Ashton. And we'll make sure those questions are passed on to the rest of the team just so they can see them.
No worries.
But no, thanks so much for joining us. It's been great to hear your insight about the team and how they're doing recently, how you've been doing as well personally through lockdown. You've clearly got an amazing drive for rugby league in general. So it's been a pleasure to speak to you.
No, it's been good to be on. Thank you very much, and cheers for the opportunity.
No worries, and we'll hopefully speak to you again soon. So thank you very much. We'll see you in a bit.
Yeah, no worries. Have a quick drink.
No worries.
See you later, Paul.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
No, okay. Deuces.